How's it going? Back with another tutorial. This is going to be the first part in a 3-part series. What it is, I've made a really rich trance supersaw lead and I've used 3 layers to do it. The first layer is with a Virus TI, which we're going to be going over today. The second one is with Massive, and I've done a lower level which is 1 octave down from the other 2, and I've done that with Silent 1. I wanted to show how you can make like supersaw sounds with all 3 of these. So the first one is just going to be with the Virus TI, as I said. It's based on a patch that I did for ADSR, a tutorial I did for them. For those of you which aren't subscribed to them, I thought I'd use this in this tutorial to show you how I made it. So yeah, I'll show you the sound with all 3 of the entities in, and then we'll get down to how I made just the Virus one today. Okay, here it is. So there it is, a really rich supersaw sound. So there's a lot going on. All the 3 different patches all have their own aspects and what they contribute to the sound as a whole. So we'll start with this top layer, which is the Virus, which we're doing today. This takes care of most of the high-end entities of this sound. This is it. So yeah, right, we'll go straight into it then. So we'll init the patch for this. Go to the oscillator section. We use hypersaws for both of these, oscillator 1 and 2. When you choose a hypersaw, you get 8 saw waves. As you push it round to the right, that gives you 8 on each one. And then we can detune these from each other to give it even wider sound. Push oscillator 1 round to about 85. Detune oscillator 2 to 76. Because we've already detuned this in the box here, you can pull this down to nothing. Keep the key follow where it is. Keep the semitone of oscillator 2 as it is as standard. We want to push the semitone for oscillator 1 up 12 semitones, 1 octave. Everything else keep the same. We don't use any FM mode for this. Oscillator 3 is another saw. So we've got 17 saws now. Push this one round 1 octave as well, 12 semitones. Detune this to about minus 66. Unison, set this to twin, so we're doubling everything that we've already got. Detune these new voices to about 65. Spread these new voices out with the pan spread to about 80%. LFO phase offset, set this to pretty much center, just a little bit below minus 2. Push the volume of oscillator 3 up so it cuts through the sound to about there, just below the E of oscillator 1-2 balance. Sub-oscillator, yet another voice it's going to give us to make the sound richer. Push this up to just below the end of the crossfader for that one. We use a bit of noise as well. About there, about a quarter of the way. Ring modulator we use just above the G, a little bit further than the noise. We're going to modulate this noise with an envelope later on. But for now, that is the oscillator section. Okay, onto the filters now. Both filter 1 and filter 2 are low pass. Pull the cut off of filter 1 down to 106, and for the filter 2, push it up to plus 35. We're going to modulate both of these with an envelope. They both want to be on positive. Push the envelope amount round to about 10%. We'll set up the envelope now that's going to modulate this. It's pretty much as it is. I'll just pull the decay back ever so slightly and push the attack up ever so slightly, just so there's a little bit of gap between the start of the envelope. Amp envelope, same again, just back it off ever so slightly. This stops any unwanted clicks at the start of notes. Pull decay down to about 3 o'clock, sustain level to about 10 o'clock, keep the slope where it is. Give it a bit of release, push it up to about 11 o'clock. Keep the filter balance between filter 1 and filter 2. We do use a bit of saturation for this. We use soft saturation. Oh yeah, that's it. Oscillator volume saturation in the middle. Push the resonance of these 2 filters up as well to about plus 35. Okay, I'll show you it now that these 2 envelopes are These two filters are in play, being modulated by the envelope. Okay, right, we'll go to the LFO section now. The only LFO that I did use was LFO2 to control the cutoff of filter 2, just to give it a bit of movement. Push this round to about 2 o'clock. Change the shape to a sine wave. Set the clock to 4/1. This means it's going to take 4 bars for it to do a whole cycle, so it's a very, very subtle movement that we've got going on. Push the trigger phase all the way around so it restarts this cycle every time a new note is played. Okay, that is it for the LFO. I'll show you that. Okay, onto the effects now. I always use analog boost on sounds like this. It just enhances it tenfold. It is brilliant. It's the best thing on the Virus in my eyes, better than all the other distortions put together. Okay, so analog boost, turn the mix quite heavy on this all the way around to about 3 o'clock. Keep the tune where it is. Distortion I use is a soft again to go with the distortion that we use with the filters. Pull the mix round to about 11 o'clock and the drive round to about 1 o'clock. Treble boost does what it says. It's going to aim the distortion at the treble, so we'll push that round to about 12 o'clock. Push the high cut up to about 9 o'clock, just to get rid of the really, really high ends of the distortion. We use a chorus as well. We use a hyper chorus. This is quite a severe chorus, but it goes well with the super saws and just make it feel even a little bit thicker. So mix up to about 9 o'clock, crossover about the same for the amount. Don't use any phaser. Filter bank, I use a comb filter. This is like 4 or 5 bandpass filters sort of stuck together. It gives it a sort of phasing effect as well, makes it sound even richer. Push this to about 11 o'clock. Frequency D-sharp 3, that's what I had it on. And resonance round to about 11 o'clock. Keep the stereo phase where it is. I used a little bit of EQing. I boosted the lows, boosted the mids a little bit more to about 5%, and the highs in between the two about 3%. So yeah, I'll show you it with effects 1 on. Quite heavy on the effects with this patch. There's a lot of them pushed quite far around, so you think it'd be really overpowering on the sound, but it doesn't. They just go really well with it. As long as you stick to these amounts, you'll be fine. So yeah, we'll go to effects 2. We use a little bit of delay and reverb for this, so turn them both on. Keep the delay at -13 dB. I kept it on a simple delay. Set it to 1/6. Keep everything else as it is standard. Just push the feedback up to about 19%, which is going to feed the delay back into itself. It helps it last longer at the end of the notes. Reverb, as I say, turn it on, -21.1 dB. I use a Hall for this, which is a really big reverb. Pull the decay back to about there, 10 o'clock. Keep the damping where it is as standard. We don't use any pre-delay for this. So the Hall is a real large delay, but we've got it quite a small volume, so it's not overpowering. Okay, I'll show you it with effects 2. Just a little bit of modulation now to do in the matrix section. I've set this first source to filter envelope. This envelope that we set up earlier. It's really snappy and really short decay. We're going to use this to modulate 2 things. We're going to use it to modulate the distortion intensity, which means at the start of every note it's going to use this filter envelope to just flick it round just to give you a little bit more distortion at the start of the notes. So push this up to about there, about 4/5 of the way. We also use it for the chorus mod depth. This is the the sort of the amount that the delay runs through the chorus. So we'll pull that to just below the distortion intensity that we had. The other thing that we use it for in this first box, I should have done this first actually, we'll use it for the noise volume. Push this up to about 2/3 of the way. And so that's it, that's all the modulation I did in the Matrix session. So that is the patch done now. So I'll show you it with all the entities in together, and then I'll show you how it fits in with the sound as a whole. Well, I'll bring in the mid layer now, which is massive, which we're going to be the next tutorial will be on. Okay, the final layer that I did was with Silent. As I say, this one was an octave lower than the rest of them, just to create sort of a low end to the sound. I'll play this with it in now so you can hear the sound as a whole. So yeah, that's it. I'm really pleased with this sound as a whole. I am going to be using it in a track. I got this melody from a free CD that I got. I'm subscribed to Music Tech. If you're not, I'll suggest that you do subscribe to them. You get some really decent free, just samples and MIDI melodies and stuff that you can use in your own productions. So yeah, that's it for the sound today. So stay tuned for the next one, which will be this massive Super Saw one. I'll just play this on its own quick so you can hear it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Any questions, don't be afraid to ask, and I'll see you for the next one.